Sri Swapan Dasgupta. Swapan, please. Sri Swapan Dasgupta.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for giving me the opportunity to speak on the motion of thanks on the President's address. Sir, yesterday we heard a lot of invocation from history from the Honorable Leader of the Opposition. And today, Professor Manoj Kumar Jha warned us against the notion of cherry-picking in history. Sir, at the risk of offending both of them, let me invoke something else from history, perhaps just a footnote. So when civil servants from the East India Company used to be sent to India from UK, or Britain as it was then called, they were given instructions. And one thing they were always told is that for everything that is true about India, the opposite is equally true. And I think it is necessary to point this out in the context of the outpouring of emotion which has happened on the farmers' agitation. So without going into the rights and wrongs of the whole movement, and without being judgmental, I just want to place a few facts. Sir, the top 2 lakh farmers of Punjab and Haryana have incomes that are among the top 8% of all incomes in India, both urban and rural. Secondly, sir, about 20,000 of them have incomes in the top 2%. So this is not to berate these people. This is not to take what the leftists used to call a denunciation of the kulak classes. This is only to admire their hard work, their integrity, their persistence, and their adoption of technology which they have managed for so long. Unfortunately, sir, this is not a situation which prevails in the whole country. I think if I was to talk about my own state, West Bengal, you will find that for various reasons, also located in history, most of the people who are farmers, kisans, are marginal. They undertake subsistence farming. Most of them have land holdings which cannot earn them enough to survive. They need other occupations. On top of that, if we come to the minimum support price, we'll find that only 9% or more, between 9 and 10% of the farmers actually secure the minimum support price. And the price differential in rice between the MSP and what they get in the market can range from between 600 to 700 rupees per quintal. That's a colossal sum, sir. And if we were to take, what the NABARD has to say, West Bengal ranked 24 out of 29 in terms of monthly income for agricultural households. And the same study put the average monthly income for agricultural households at rupees 1,175, which is well below the national average. So the reason why I'm saying it is that such communities need value addition at every point. They need value addition in terms of marketing. They need value addition in terms of agro-industries. They need value addition to get organic farming off the ground. And they need a whole range of investments in the rural sector which has not been forthcoming. Even more than 30% of the vegetables perish as a result of lack of cold storages, and the lack of cold storages can be attributed to the Essential Commodities Act, which have put a certain barrier against hoarding and which was enacted at a time of food shortages. So these are the major constraints. And when you have a series of legislation which puts a seal of legitimacy, legal approval on contract farming, which has been done on an informal basis today, as Professor Ram Gopal Yadav pointed out, that legal sanctity which these acts give, I think are very, very important in terms of trying to actually lift a community, a whole region, which is now being deprived and which falls well short of the achievements which have been there in the Green Revolution area. I urge, therefore, everyone to not look at the whole country in terms of what the most successful have done, but also to look at places where there has been least success. So we have, in the course of the budget, spoken about the possibility, we have got hopes that in the coming year, India will reach double-digit growth figures again. That's a very good aspiration to have. But this double-digit aspiration, sir, cannot be achieved if a whole section of the country falls behind. Can you imagine, sir, the amount of achievement which we could have if the whole of Eastern India were to actually contribute their own 11-12% growth? How much it would grow? So this is not merely a problem of West Bengal. It's a problem which is there in Odisha. It is a problem which is there in Jharkhand, in Assam. The whole region, sir, has been suffering. We have yesterday, Mr. Prasanna Acharya spoke very eloquently on the need to have a special economic package for Odisha. Earlier, we have heard such talk from people in Bihar as a result after the separation of Jharkhand. So it is sometimes difficult to have only special packages for one state at the cost of the other. I would urge, sir, to look at whether the government can look at the possibility of whether the whole of Eastern India can be regarded as a special assistance zone. And the reason for it is quite compelling. There are connectivities at every level. I wish to thank, for example, the Chief Minister of Orissa, who sent out his disaster management team during the Amphan crisis in West Bengal. He went out of his way to help in this way. In every respect, and at a time when people are talking about outsiders and homegrown people, etc., we must realize the deep degree of connectivity which exists between all of them. For instance, if we are to talk about coal, we can't talk about Raniganj without talking about Dhanbad. It's the same thing. We cannot talk about Darjeeling and Duars without talking about Assam tea. The problems are exactly the same. Steel, iron ore, where Durgapur is linked to Jamshedpur, which is linked to Rourkela. It is all part of the same zone. In national security, the left-wing extremism which we are confronted in Odisha, in Jharkhand and parts of West Bengal, exactly the same problem. The problem of illegal immigration, which is there in Assam, is exactly the same as in West Bengal. And even if we are to look at it in pure spiritual terms, I, sir, cannot talk about my faith without talking about Jagannath Puri, without talking about Kamakhya, without talking about Baidyanath Dham. It is all part of the thing. Today, sir, we are in need of having an integrated approach to the whole eastern region. I was very glad when my friend Bhuvaneshwar Kalita spoke about the Prime Minister coming to Assam 40 times. He later corrected himself in the Central Hall and said it was been 41 times the Prime Minister has come. Now, that's a colossal time. I dream of the day when, in the whole of the eastern region, we can welcome the Prime Minister 41 times. We can dream of a time when the Prime Minister's Kisan Nidhi Samman is available to the 70 lakh farmers of West Bengal, which they have been deprived of. We can also look about the time, the short-sightedness of local politics, which deprives people who are already deprived of the Ayushman Bharat scheme. Sir, India has an integrated approach. We have to take the strong and the weak together. And that is the philosophy of Sabka Saath, Sabka Vishwas. I want that philosophy, regardless of party affiliations, to be implemented in this country. If that approach is there, whosoever is in the state government does not matter. And I think if we can rise above this basic partisanship and welcome center in the states and the states with each other, I think we can be looking forward not merely to a 11% growth, but a growth which can be 15%, which can be the envy of the whole world. I thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to thank the President for his courtesy of this address. Thank you.
Thank you, Swapan ji.